surprise, Antlaw from Trio HLK at Castlesound studio in Pencaitland. And today we're going to have a little chat with Mr. Rich Harrold. But before we do that, I wanted to show you something that I was really struggling to play last night. There's a section in our piece, Anthropometrics, where I play this part here. And you can see, if you look down where there's that A flat written in red, bar 20 or something, where I'm really darting around on the 8th string from the lowest note, like 3rd fret on the lowest string, up to 9th fret on the high E. I was really struggling with that. So I came in fresh this morning and I think I conquered it. I had to kind of overdub because I didn't manage to get a take with everyone together yesterday. So happily, modern technology means you can do this. So that was, painful fun. But let's have a chat with Rich anyway. Rich, if people don't know, give us a little insight into your musical background. So, when did you start playing piano?
I started playing piano with a local piano teacher who lived around the corner from me when I was just turned 6.
Where was local to you?
In Chorlton in Manchester. Her name was Hazel Fanning. She's a fantastic pianist and teacher. And then I learned classical piano and got into composition a bit later on and started listening to jazz and playing a bit of it very badly, like I still do. And then I went on to study contemporary classical composition at the Royal Academy and carried on playing piano while I was there. Had the odd jazz lesson. So so that's where I am. So
so
you're a mongrel.
Yeah, so you've definitely grown up with a lot of classical music in your
Very
life.
much so, yeah.
I remember once saying to you, do you listen to any normal music? And you were like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, like Aerosmith or whatever. And you were like, no. I think you genuinely, I guess, the notion of anything being normal is sort of relative anyway. But for you were like, well, Boulez and Ligeti and Stockhausen, and that is normal. For you.
Certainly spent a long time listening to all of that stuff, while I was studying.
When you listen through how our music actually sounds, what of the classical composers, maybe some of the ones we've listed, which of them, if any, resemble this kind of thing, or which of them do we resemble? Do these pieces resemble that we're recording this week, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of counterpoint in what we do.
That bit I just showed everyone, actually, that's my part, and Rich's part is kind of in counterpoint with it, right?
Yeah, and there's lots of sort of layers that are working as independent parts, but obviously, fit together. And so, a lot of that comes from probably playing a lot of Bach, preludes and fugues and two-part inventions and that kind of thing. But obviously, harmonically it's quite different. Contemporary classical composers, or at least more recent composers, Ligeti. There's definitely a lot of Ligeti in what I write. I think his piano etudes are just absolutely amazing pieces of writing and really, really, really fun to play.
Hey, didn't you even do a duo version of one of them with Rich Kass?
Yeah, that's not a piano etude. That's a piece called Hungarian Rock.
Oh, okay.
But it's very similar.
What does he mean, Hungarian rock? What does that mean? He doesn't mean like a rock band, does he? Like rock and roll.
It's I'm just trying to remember what the meters are for that. Actually, I have to look it up. But yeah, it's for dual manual. I think it was originally written for harpsichord, or it might be dual manual organ. I can't remember. No, it's harpsichord. So he's got kind of this complex ostinato going on in one hand, and on the other manual, a load of kind of rhythmic layers that go over the top of it.
Rhythmic layers. That's something that definitely you're going to hear a lot of in our music.
Yeah, and just his approach to piano writing. It's just once you've kind of looked at some of those pieces and played some of them, it's really hard to not be influenced by them. Just so ingenious and so amazing to listen to as well. They're not just clever writing, but just amazing music.
Yeah.
And then obviously like playing a load of Debussy and Rachmaninoff and other kind of, you know, more romantic composers, 20th century composers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in there
Cool.
somewhere.
So I made Rich get his piano pad here. By the way, thank you everyone who's kind of who's watching. We appreciate you. Do send any questions if you have them. And I have a question. Remind me actually. I have to run and get my phone to remind myself of it. But are there any parts that we can take a look at, or maybe bits that you're proud of? You like the layout, you think looks nice, and maybe as a side or connect related question. If we were to look at some contemporary piano music, what would look similar to this, if any of it? Is that a really stupid question?
No, it's a good question. It's just difficult for me to show you because a lot of my scores are sort of shorthand. Some of them are more written out, but a lot of the time it's just kind of like a single line, and then I know what I'm doing underneath it. If you see what I mean. So I mean, I could show you this bit. This is a kind of a the sort of comping pattern for one of Richard Kass's drum solos. So it's all in 5. So this page is sort of 15 bars of 5, and the lower part, as you can see, is just marking out this sort of 3/2 pattern. And then over the top of it, there's a harmonized melody that sort of shifts against those groupings. So yeah, it's this sort of cyclical pattern, but the melody is sort of shifting against this repeated 5 thing. Don't know. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of 5 things, we're going to record 5. This is our second last day in the studio, and we're recording a brand new piece that we did play it live. I think we played it live at, was it the Blue Lamp in Aberdeen?
Wow, yeah. That was a while ago.
That was a long, yeah.
It's kind of transformed quite a lot since then, though. That was its first kind of test drive.
Yeah, I got in a real panic about maybe 2-3 weeks ago when Rich sent a new intro, and as you can imagine, getting new music from him is a very terrifying experience because you never know how many years it's going to take. But happily, it was some single notes.
Not too bad, yeah.
Simple, yeah.
One-time signature.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Do you want to share something else?
Well, no, I was just going to jump in on that. So that's a recomposition of another Miles Davis piece, 4, and so I thought it'd be quite fun to kind of rework it into 5. But yeah, like as usual, sort of 5 with lots of unstable rhythmic patterns and shifting floorboards or whatever.
The solo form is really funny. It goes, what does it do? 5553, 5554, 5555, 5556, 5557, 5558, 5559.
And that's it.
Back to the top. You'd think that would be quite easy to memorize, but I don't think it's going to be when the day comes.
And 3 works all the way through that and comes back round. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. You just play 3 the whole way through.
I would have thought. Well, or one approach that could be used would be to pick things that are in prime numbers so that they're not divisible by anything, just to be a pain in the butt.
That's what I've done in Flanagan's, actually. In the coder, every line is prime.
Okay. Oh my god.
Sometimes it's nice to have something that you can nail one subdivision all the way through if you're stuck.
We've got a question from Patrick Smith.
Oh yeah.
He was saying we talked about the melody and harmony and rhythm, but he's interested in the structure. Do the structure of these pieces, for example, 4 or our version 5, do they differ substantially to the original standard? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. The structures are definitely much more of a sort of zoomed out creative process than this sort of like in detail thing. We talked about this in the last stream, but for me, what's important in terms of the global structure is like, well, how does the whole flow of it sort of feel, you know, like the pacing of it, like when things change, and also like what kind of journey does the piece go on? and there are obviously like lots of different options and decisions that can be made in that kind of sphere, and a piece could probably turn out lots of different ways. But yeah, I'm just interested in kind of in the whole thing being like an interesting journey and kind of an exciting journey, I suppose. And so sometimes the approach is to develop different sections of the pieces from different like motifs from the original or something. And then with other pieces, it's more of like stretching out the melody over the entire course of the tune. That's what happens in Stella, one of the new pieces. It's by the end of the tune, you've heard the whole head, but it's kind of like 12 minutes long or something. So
and not before. You haven't heard the whole melody until we get right to the end.
Until right at the end. So that repeated figure at the end in the piano part is the last two notes of the melody. And that thing from the start is obviously the first three notes of the melody. So as it progresses, you get different fragments of the melody that then sort of create different structures for the sections. But again, it's different in every piece. But hopefully it's the melody from the original and some of the harmonic and rhythmic content, but it's certainly not sort of like a cyclical sort of thing that you would get in the traditional standard.
Awesome. Very interesting. Interesting for me as well, because I often, we don't, so busy practicing things, I don't really get around to asking you how you kind of come up with it. But just to summarise that, Patrick, the tune is completely recomposed, structurally, harmonically, and melodically, but from the same source materials. Yeah,
to some extent, the fact of it coming from a standard is sort of arbitrary because it's so different. But I, having said that, I do quite like the idea that you can sort of hear something that you recognise. There's a sort of psychological thing that goes on there that you wouldn't experience if you're just hearing, say, an original melody that I'd made up. And you kind of vaguely recognising fragments of things. I don't know. I think that maybe adds to it in some way.
I think it does, and certainly with some pieces more than others in this pad. Some are
more obvious, aren't they?
Yeah. Nice one. Well, we're on our second last day, and we're kind of just.
I think we're all getting a bit fried.
Yeah.
We're doing well. Yesterday was. There was definitely some emotional ups and downs and some tensions, and I was wondering if we were going to make it to the end intact. But no, I think that we can see the finish line. We're all feeling a bit more optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be an absolute roast. We've got two of the hardest pieces. We finish tomorrow afternoon with, for me at least, the most challenging piece to play.
Yeah, but by far for me as well. Mainly because of the tempo. It's like the fastest piece. It's going to be hard.
Lots of notes.
Yeah.
Should be fun though.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be good it'll be fun. No, it won't be fun. But, all right, nice one. Well, we'll check in with you. You find people of the internet later. Here's an interesting question actually. Thanks very much, Kate. Are we generally cohesive, or is there someone who leads? It's a good question.
I think in terms of the music, there is usually someone taking the lead in different sections. It kind of depends what's going on. Some sections are probably more piano led. Other sections more Rich Kass led or whatever, and usually just kind of clinging on for dear life. So
thanks, bro. Yeah, but maybe Kate means maybe she means less of the musical side, and I would say to that there are maybe different aspects that just in any group of people. Some people have some skills and others have others.
Yeah.
And we gravitate towards doing certain things.
I think it's pretty equal though, isn't it? It's quite
I think we try to make it equal, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of maybe admin staff or...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, does that answer your question, Kate? Do you mean specifically musically or otherwise? I mean, yeah, we try and divide it up as you've said, basically. Summarize. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, Kate. and yeah, we'll check in. I need to show you all my guitar pedals and stuff, because I've brought a lot, and I brought this huge one up from London, and so far we've used it for one chord.
A very short chord.
Yeah, a really short chord. Similarly, I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, Kate. Improv and notation. There's a lot of notation, but there's also a lot of improv.
I think in the performances it's about 50-50 because the improv sections are mostly cyclical. So yeah, in terms of like learning notes, then there are probably more written notes to learn. But then obviously, when learning improv, you don't really learn the improv. You find ways of navigating the forms, and so that for me probably takes a lot longer than learning the dots. Just because there are so many options. Yeah,
the dots is a fixed thing, but the improv is infinite, or only limited by your imagination, I suppose.
Yeah.
Shall we let people hear?
Yeah.
A little bit of music, is that all right?
Why not, yeah.
Just a little bit. It'll only be lo-fi. We'll let you in the control room. Let's go and finish off in the control room for now. Thanks, Rich.
No beef.
I think we got a guitar solo earlier. Oops, little error there. See you later, folks. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday.